What's up guys, Justin here for Team Shenanigans, and today I'll be bringing you guys our tournament report from ARG Charlotte that we just went to. And after that, do a little discussion about regionals coming up. Today they just released the dates for all the regionals. We'll be heading down to Jacksonville from South Carolina right here. And just talk about my predictions of the meta, and there's a lot of stuff coming out by then. So it's going to be pretty scary getting ready for all of it. But let's go ahead and get into the tournament reports. So we went up to the ARG in Charlotte. No, we live in South Carolina. We could have went down to the South Carolina one on Sunday, but we live in the upstate, and it's literally like an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours to drive to Charlotte versus a 4-hour drive down past Columbia near Charleston where the South Carolina one was. And the one in Charlotte normally has a much higher turnout rate. There's a really good player base up there at GSG, and it's always a lot of fun. Love Leon, the owner. He runs a great card shop. So we had 45 players, and it was set to be 6 rounds, but going into round 5, they decided to cut it to make round 5 the last round before top 8 because there were only 2 undefeated players left going into round 5, I believe. But looking at the standings after the top 8, there were a lot of X2s and a couple people with that were X1 but with one draw that bubbled out. So that really sucks. I really feel like they could have done one more round, but there's no telling what would have happened. I did not do nearly as well as I hoped. I took my good old Luard Diablo deck. I don't regret taking the deck. I don't regret any of the deck decisions or any of the way I played. There was just my 2 losses. I went 3-2, and my 2 losses, my deck just completely bricked on me, and it was bad. It was so bad. I didn't lose a single game 1 though. So let's go ahead and get into my rounds. Round 1, I played up against a friend of ours, Jamel. He's well known in the buddy fight community. Really cool guy, and this is the first time I've actually ever gotten to play him in Vanguard. So it was a lot of fun. He was using Musketeers, and honestly, I've not played against Musketeers in a long time, since my teammate Matt used to have them built a while ago. And there was like the new stride. I had no idea what it did. It was just rare. He was able to rush me early and didn't get power columns late and call out all these free units. It was just really scary. He was able to hit a lot of big numbers, but I was barely able to pull it out. Game 1, when he went to his big stride turn, he pushed me really hard to like 5 damage, and I barely had enough cards in hand to guard. And just through my plussing engine with all my Luard combos and Balaus, Sword Breakers, Guys Are Doomed, my Ezra's Loop, I was able to draw the game out and live through his big push turns and push back. And sadly, while a deck like Musketeers can rush really hard and build up field basically out of nothing, they don't have any way to generate hand. So I was able to win the long game there. Game 1 was really close. Game 2 went pretty much the exact same way. It was just, I was able to get game 2 also, so I took it 2-0, but it was so close. It was a they were both really, really good games. And Jamel told me after that he just very much dislikes playing against Luard because he has such a hard time beating it because he can just keep such a big hand. But he said he had such a fun time playing against me. He actually didn't mind playing against Luard round 1, even though. Round 2, I can't remember his name, but he was playing basically all the support from the new Legend deck. He went into Alfred several times and kept giving his Blaster Blade Twin Drive, but I was just able to draw out my G-Guards and keep my Ezra's Loop going, and I was able to just keep up such a big hand that game 1 drug on forever, just because he kept just, through my deck being stupid and generating so much advantage, and he said he was just being stubborn and refused to die. But game 1 took forever, but it was really good. It was a lot of fun. At least there was no like double critting or anything like that. There was no trigger sacking at all like the first 2 rounds of the tournament for me or either of my opponents. So that was really cool. But I was able to pull out game 1 finally, and then game 2 went kind of the same way a little, but it didn't drag out nearly as long. I think I was able to hit a couple of early triggers and generate a little more advantage, and he wasn't able to generate as much advantage as he was game 1. So game 2 I took a little easier, but it was still, I wouldn't call it an easy match at all. All the blaster support is very good, and after set 11, them getting Ganslot, I'm looking forward to playing the deck. Because I would have considered taking blasters, but the fact that Grand Blue and Gear Chronicle and Kagero, I didn't expect to see any Kagero there, but I really expected to see Gear Chronicle and Grand Blue. They can completely shut off your twin driving rear guard with their spin or retire combos. So without Ganslot, the deck is just really frail to that at the moment, so that's why I just chose to go with Luard instead. So I took round 2 2-0. Round 3 is game 1. Well, round 3 was against a Sanctuary Guard player. He was running 1 Exceed and I believe like 4 Sanctuary Guards. This was like the grade 2 dot game the entire match. Game 1, everything really well for me, and I was able to keep up with him on the grade 2 game. He didn't draw very optimal, I remember, and I was just able to power through him and then finally ride to grade 3 and get my twin drive going, and I was able to take game 1. Game 2 was going very good for both of us, honestly. I believe I was able to stop like his Wingull Brave for the most part early game to make him draw out the pieces he needed instead of just getting to search for them. I was able to 1-to-pass, and but slowly my hand started to deteriorate. He kept rewriting grade 2 to ensure I wouldn't Sabreeze, and eventually it came down to I was on a 10k base, but he had a 15k Vanguard column, and then like another 15 and a 16, I believe, or something like that. And I had 2 10ks, a 5, and a grade 3 in hand, I believe. And he swung 15 to Vanguard, and I was at 4 damage. So at that point, I had to choose. If he got a crit, I was basically done, because I could only guard for like 1-to-pass, and then I just needed to be able to swing back on the next turn, is what I was worried about. So I just chose to no guard the Vanguard, hoping he wouldn't hit a crit, because he was still on grade 2, so just 1 drive check, what are the chances he hits a crit? And he hits a crit. So I was a little salty, but the dude was really cool, so I'm not the kind of person to really get mad and upset. I'll get mad and upset at the game. I'll never really get mad and upset at the player, and that's what I really try to stress to people. It's fine to be salty. Just be salty for the right reasons and at the right things. Like, if I'm ever upset and I'm playing you, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm going to be mad at just Vanguard in general. But, so he got the crit, and I'm like, okay, we'll go to game 3. And game 3 went back and forth between both of us. He played the grade 2 game a little bit at the beginning. I went ahead and rode grade 3. He got the first stride. And I forget which stride turn it was. It wasn't his first stride turn, I don't think. But he had the flow goal in the field, had a Blaster Blade on rear guard, and had strode into Regel. I was at 3 damage. I had a perfect guard in hand, and I just remember that as long as he didn't hit double crit and pass it all to the Blaster Blade and restand the Blaster Blade with flow goal, because the Blaster Blade was huge because he was on Regel, then I was fine, and I was going to win on the next turn, because he didn't have any hand advantage. He basically had to drop everything he could. So he had like no cards in hand besides what he would triple drive. And his drive checks were, I can't remember one of them was, but I know 2 of them were crits. Passed them all to the, because I perfect guarded the Vanguard. He passed them all to the Blaster Blade that was going to restand because he had a Flogo on board. And at that point, I didn't have enough to guard both Blaster Blade swings. I remember it came down to he swung at my Interceptor on the side, and the Blaster Blade ended up swinging for like 37, 3 crit. And after he took out my Interceptor, all I had in hand, all combined, was only 36k shield. I would only be able to guard for 36. So I had to take it, hope for a heal, and didn't get it, and that was the end of round 3. I was a little let down, but at the same time, I was like, okay, it took to round 3 for trigger sacking to start happening, and at least they were still pretty good games, and I didn't get swept. I still won one game, so I was kind of happy about that. Round 4, I played against Noah, a local player at GSG. He was using Gold Paladin Gurgit. Game 1 went really well for me. It kind of drug out a little bit just because when you're playing Luard, that's just what's going to happen. You're just going to refuse to die because you're going to keep drawing cards and getting your Ezra's loop going. And he just couldn't kill me, and I just had so much pressure on my restanding Spectral turn, and I took that game. So going into game 2, it was just not good. I didn't have the G assist. I'm trying to remember. I think, I had to ride Blaster Dart Diablo. And when you have to ride Blaster Dart Diablo in a Luard deck, just the entire rest of the deck shuts off. If you have to ride anything that's not Luard, just good luck. You can't generate any advantage. Your Ezra's doesn't work. Your Belial doesn't work. You're not calling out your Sword Breakers to draw cards. It's just a really bad time. And I just couldn't catch a break. I had a last gasp Diablo turn where I had to ditch the only card in my hand to Stride using his GB2 skill to go into Diablo, retire one of his rear guards, but at that point he had been smart in attacking my other rear guards, even though I was only on Diablo. So I only had one rear guard, so I couldn't retire it for Diablo's skill. I just had to counterblast one to get the 36 and a crit, because he was at 3 or 4 damage. And of course, I couldn't guard restrict him, so he was just able to either, I think he just PG'd the Vanguard. And then, so he took that one pretty handily. Going into game 3, I just had an awful opening hand. I ended up having to G-assist for the 2, I believe. And I G-assisted away a Folda, which really bit me in the butt later. But my hand was just not good at all. It was like a crit, a heal. After my grade 1 ride, I had like a crit, a heal, a grade 3, and a grade 2 in my hand, or something like that. And I think I drew into the Luard, and I needed shield because he was rushing me so hard, and I was already down, so I got rid of the Folda, and I think the crit, because I wanted to keep the heal in hand at least, and the crit wasn't a Belial. And I had to keep my grade 2 ride, and the Luard, of course. But the way the game played out, he had ended up breezing me somehow. I think it took me a minute to get the Luard. I think I skipped my grade 3 ride turn because I think I actually didn't have the Luard. I had the Blaster Dart Diablo. And I Abyssal Owled to search out the Diablo. To search out the Luard, and I got it and discarded the Blaster Dart Diablo. And then he ended up Sabreezing me that turn. So then that forced me into riding to grade 3 the next turn, just to try to build up some ground. But at that time, I didn't have any of my engine going, and I didn't have nearly enough cards to stride or anything, so I just had to ride to grade 3 and swing twin drive, and it was just bad. It was just so bad. Ditching that fold at early game for the G-assist just bit me so bad right there, because at least if I could have strode, I could have gone into Doomed or and done something and built up some sort of advantage, and just started calling cards out and hopefully clawed my way back into the game. But he took that round 1-2. Again, I didn't get swept, so at least I was looking at the bright side of that. And then going into round 5, that's when they announced that it was going to be the last round. So, and at the time I was sitting at, going into round 5, I was sitting at table 10. So I knew there were 18 people ahead of me and my opponent, so I just had to hope I could win and hope for good tiebreakers, but even then, chances were slim to none of making top 8. But I played against Altmile Brave in round 5, and honestly, it was the most fun I had all day. His name was, the guy's name was Shaman. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Shaman. I feel like I'm not. I had asked him how you pronounce it at the beginning of the round, and for the life of me, I just can't remember. But the dude was awesome. I ended up my deck just worked and got all its pieces faster and better than his. It just seemed like his triggers didn't like him, and just his deck just did not want to work for him. But the guy never got a bad attitude about it, and we just had a lot of fun talking back and forth, and just had a fun, laid-back match. And it was easily the most fun I'd had all day. I ended up taking that round 2-0, just through pure advantage and my spectral strides. I think I won game 1 with Phantom Blaster Diablo and game 2 with Spectral. But it was awesome. I would love to play that guy again. And hopefully, like, his deck would want to work for him this time, because it just did not want to do anything. When you're playing a combo-oriented deck and you can't draw in your combo pieces, you know, I know all too well because I play Royals and Shadows, then you're just going to have a bad time. So overall, I finished 3-2, and I was really sad to see in the final standings that I was ranked 18th, just because there were so many X2s. And Christy finished X3. She had a bad time, but she honestly went to the tournament not expecting to do too well. She's been going to school full-time and working full-time, so she hasn't had a lot of practice. So she said she felt kind of rusty. So her best deck right now is Angel Feather, but she didn't want to risk going into time at 45 minutes, best 2 out of 3. She felt like she was going to go into time every round, just because that's how Angel Feather plays. It's a very combo-oriented deck, and it drags the game out, just like Luard, really. So she took Harmony Bermudas, and she just the deck just kind of, it worked better than it was like testing the day before, but she just had some bad matches. But she told me she really didn't expect to do too well, and she wasn't too torn up about it or anything. I was a lot more salty than she was. And our friend Aaron actually went 3-1-1. He bubbled out to 10th because round 5 him and Keith from Team Absolution had a draw. So that kind of sucked for them. I felt really bad, but he said the match was a lot of fun. And Aaron actually took Chaos. He usually takes Messiahs, but he decided to take Chaos to try to use his GB8. But overall, I'd rate the tournament just a big success. Of course, it was a real downer that we didn't get top 8 or anything, but overall, had fun, had some really good matches, and my deck worked. So I wasn't let down by any of my deck choices or anything like that. It's just when you brick with a combo deck, you're going to brick, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But going forward, today they finally announced the Autumn Regionals, and we're going to be going down to Jacksonville. It's a much further drive than from South Carolina to Jacksonville than it is from South Carolina to Atlanta, so I'm still a little salty that they moved it from Atlanta to Jacksonville, and Bushy Road's cutting down all the locations. I'm even more upset that now Vanguard is a 2-day event, and it cuts into my Buddy Fight day 2, so if I do really well in Vanguard, I have to make a decision to play Buddy Fight day 2 or keep playing Vanguard, when I don't understand why you're going to make Vanguard a 2-day event, but it's still best of 1. I don't understand. You need to make, like, both days best 2 out of 3 if you're going to make it a 2-day event, not just top 8. But I guess it's progress, and we're getting there, and at least top 8's best 2 out of 3 now. But October 20th and 21st are the dates for Jacksonville, and holy crap, do we have a lot of stuff coming out before then. Like, Jesus. Not just for Vanguard, but for Buddy Fight, too. So I have a lot to prepare for. And, like, just in July, we've got the Bermuda Trial deck, and the set coming out, and freaking, there's Luard Mermaids in the Trial deck, and the set. Basically, the Chochos or Choo-Choos or whatever you want to call them are basically like Luard clones, but in Bermuda Triangle, where that playstyle, the Bermuda playstyle is always really scary, and the decks are pretty much stay good when they get updated, and they just only go away because people get bored and stop playing them because they only get support once a year. Like, Bermuda's still good, and they're getting all this really good support. This support looks like to be a lot better than what they got last year, and what they got last year wasn't bad. So, and then we have the new Domination Nubas. Nubas scare me, not for purely the domination skills, but for the fact that you can mix them with their discard mechanic. And that really scares me, because I don't feel like Nuba, the discard mechanic was bad at all. It's just, again, people stopped playing it. So it really scares me once they can get some combos off, making me discard cards, and then, like, while also dominating my units. I just don't want to have to deal with that. It's going to be awful. And, along with the Nuba Trial deck, September 1st, we've got Set 11 coming out, which is great for me. I get Royal support. Now Blasters will be playable in a tournament, and arguably Tier 1, because Gancelot just gets over so many hurdles for that deck. It's amazing. A great first stride, an even better second stride, and giving all your Blaster units resist during your turn, so your opponent can't header around you, and they can't cannoneer him, and you're guaranteed the twin drive when you go into Alfred. So it's really nice, and you're guaranteed to restand with your flow goal as long as they leave the flow goal alone. So I'm really considering, it's going to be a tough decision on whether to take Luard or Blasters if I can just get my build down with that, because there's so many good builds with Exceed. You can run Exceed as the main grade 3, you can run Exceed as the backup grade 3. Just the strides and Blaster Blade himself, all the support around him, just carry that deck, where it almost really doesn't matter what your grade 3 is. The only grade 3 I refuse to run is Saint Guard, because I just can't. I just do not like Saint Guard. No offense to anybody that does, just, it's too vanilla. It's too vanilla. Royals are vanilla enough. I don't need such a vanilla grade 3 and strategy just to go into Regale and swing for days. Again, no offense to anybody that likes that. But I definitely feel like going into regionals, the top tier decks will remain. You're gonna see a lot of Night Rose, a lot of Gears, a lot of Luard, and I feel like Royals are gonna come up, and people should definitely not underestimate Messiahs. Those are my top 5. What I feel like are the top 5 decks right now, because I don't consider Grade 1 Rush a deck. I mean, I say that now, but then it'll just beat the ever-living crap out of me. It almost makes me want to take Raging Form instead, just because I'll get so mad if I lose a Grade 1 Rush, because, Bushy, please do something about that. Like, I'll just take Raging Form and just lose to everything else, but no, I have a good matchup against Grade 1 Rush. But my top 5 really, I feel like are gonna still be in there. I've been telling my friends for a while. I feel like those are just 5 really good decks that I feel are molding the meta right now. Night Rose, Gears, Luard, Royals, and Messiahs. You have to always account for those. And I say Royals because it can be Saint Guard, it can be Blasters, it can still be Thing Saver. I mean, it can be Alfred. It really doesn't matter because the strides just work. All you need is like the Blaster Blade grade 2s in the deck now, and a good enough grade 3, and the strides and Blaster Blade with Flogel and Blue will just carry you. It's so good. And then you have to worry about the upcoming decks. There's all the new Batama stuff, all the Domination. Is it going to be as good as the Hyperreal? Yes. I believe yes and no. I believe it's going to do a lot, but at the same time, it's not going to break the game. Like, remember when Blaster Joker came out and everybody thought that was going to break the game? No, it didn't. But it's still going to be a contender. It's going to be a very good contender, but it's not going to overthrow the other top decks. But it's going to be in there. And then all the Bermuda support that they're getting. You're going to have Loris is still going to be a thing. The Chochos or Choo-Choos, whatever you want to call them, is basically a Bermuda Luard deck, like I said. That's going to be there. Genesis and Dark Irregulars are going to get really good with set 11, and those are not 2 decks to overlook. Those decks can just, if you're going up against somebody that's like a dedicated Genesis or DI player with that new support, you just really need to watch out because that they're finally getting some pretty good support. And then you always have like the Dark Horse decks that everyone kind of forgets about, but they pop up every now and then, and they're the decks that you sit across the table from at a regional and just pound your face in, and you're just like, wow, I forgot that was a good deck. You know, like you got your G-Tachis, your G-Novas, because all the restandings with Victor and Sasanda are just ridiculous. You have your Spite Brothers, they can like turbo into their GV8 and just do some really scary things. And Angel Feathers and Aquaforce are still in there. With Angel Feather, you have the No-Seal build, you have the Gavril build. Both builds are really good. With Aquaforce, Thavis has been popping up a lot. We had a Thavis deck in top 8 at the Charlotte ARG, and that deck was pretty dang good. It was really scary. I didn't have to play against it, but Christy and Aaron both did, and they said it was really good. So there's a lot of decks to prepare for, and the only advice I really have is just take the deck you're most comfortable with and pray. That's really Vanguard. Pray for them crits. And then for Buddy Fight, oh, Jesus Christ. I have no idea what deck I'm taking for Buddy Fight. I think everybody else pretty much has their decks squared away with what they're taking. And I'm over here like, I mean, it's going to be really tempting to take Legend Heroes, because I'm going to get all my Legend Hero support, thank God. But that will probably be a last-second decision on what I take. I think I've something in my head. I have like a couple aces up my sleeve. But guys, that's it for this video. But with regionals coming up, deck profiles are going to probably be scaled back a little bit. We're just going to be doing a lot more matches on the channel. But if there's anything in particular you want to see, make sure to comment down below. And let us know, give us plenty of feedback, let us know what you want to see, and what you like and don't like. But for now, this is me being salty about my 18th place at the Charlotte ARG. I couldn't top 8 3 in a row. I'm sad. Love you, Josh. Keep topping all those Atlanta regionals, all those Atlanta ARGs. I'm so salty. Alright, bye guys.